It took all the way into the end, but finally, the last home team announced was the Syracuse Orange, and they will be hosting the Albany Great Danes next Sunday night. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Thomsen, and he's Nick Dugan. Nick, what a crazy bracket, first off. You had Loyola and Marquette going before Syracuse was finally announced.
Yeah, I think looking back at the committee's selections, you could kind of see there are different factors each year that kind of, become more prominent in determining the seeds in the tournament. It looks like this year was RPI.
Yeah.
6 and 7 RPI respectively went to Marquette and Loyola. Syracuse RPI at 10, able to squeak in at that 8th seed, as you mentioned.
Well, either way, Syracuse somehow gets that home field advantage, and they get it against Albany, a team very familiar. And if I'm Ben Williams, I am ecstatic. This guy dominates Albany. He went 24 for 27 last year. This year, 17 for 24, went 8-0 in the first quarter on faceoffs. The guy's a beast.
Yeah, Ben Williams was a huge part of that 16-7 win over Albany earlier this season. But it wasn't just Ben Williams. It was a total team effort. Syracuse outshot, got more ground balls than Albany. They were just all over the field, completely dominating every facet of the game from the get-go. So we'll have to see how this matchup shakes out. Could it be a different Albany team coming into the Carrier Dome next Sunday?
Well, sure. It is a different Albany team. Let's get that off the bat first. But number two, it's a much different Syracuse team out there, too. This is a different defense. The attack's stronger than ever. I mean, the only thing that's going to stay the same is Ben Williams being Ben Williams.
Yeah, absolutely. Syracuse looking more dominant than ever, but as you mentioned, certainly a different Albany team coming in. But you have to take into account Albany, maybe we said, could have had that home game hosting Syracuse if it weren't for their loss in the America East semifinal to Hartford.
Yep.
So you have to wonder, does Albany come in with a chip on their shoulder losing to a Hartford team, or are they a bit deflated after losing a home game to a team that's outside the RPI top 30? We'll have to wait and find out.
What else about this bracket, though? I mean, Duke and North Carolina snuck in very late. I'm still not over Marquette and Loyola, though. That's incredible to me.
Yeah, people were surprised, especially with Marquette. They were able to get a big win, winning their conference tournament over Denver. Denver still able to sneak in the number 2 seed overall, and the same could be said for the ACC. Syracuse winning the title outright, but Notre Dame getting the number 3 seed in the tournament, as opposed to Syracuse winning it all, getting in the 8. But absolutely a pretty big surprise, especially for leagues such as the Patriot League and the Big East being able to maybe jump ahead of Syracuse winning the ACC.
Sure. I mean, well, we've talked a lot about the Syracuse-Albany matchup. Let's move forward. Say Syracuse does, in fact, beat Albany, as they've done the last 2 years, Look ahead. They got the number 1 seed in Maryland.
Yeah, as a Syracuse fan, you thought maybe with the most recent run that they've had, Syracuse may be able to slide into that 6 or 7 and play maybe a lower seeded team, but someone that maybe was still they would able to be able to catch off guard. I think it might be tough to catch this Maryland team off guard. Just a complete all-around team coming off a Big Ten title. Very few big wins this season. Nothing too spectacular though. No top 5 wins for this team. But I still think that Syracuse has more than their hands full with the number 1 overall seed.
Hey, they beat Johns Hopkins, man. That's a good win, isn't it?
Yeah, Maryland was able to come away with a victory the weekend before the conference tournament at Homewood, and then, as we mentioned, going on to win the conference tournament in the same location. Has to be pretty painful for Hopkins fans to see Maryland take home the Big Ten title.
That is pretty painful, and you probably know yourself, wouldn't you? Well, personally, just one more thought. Okay, they have to play Maryland. At least they don't have to play Notre Dame in the quarterfinals. But
yeah, I think.
Don't you think?
I think it's interesting.
It's a nightmare match.
I think it's interesting. Notre Dame definitely seems to have had Syracuse's number since joining the ACC. But when you look at a matchup maybe with Syracuse and Notre Dame, as we've already mentioned, this Syracuse team is leaps and bounds ahead of where they were when they last played Notre Dame. And they know Notre Dame. They know what they're going to get in a team like Notre Dame. Syracuse, not really sure. They haven't seen Maryland on the field. It's an interesting question you bring up, but I think that a matchup against Notre Dame could possibly yield a different outcome for the Orange in the tournament.
Well, I know what they're going to get out of their Notre Dame game. Another clobbering. So hold them off until the semifinals or the finals. We'll see you in Philadelphia, Notre Dame. Well, that will do it with our first reactions from the NCAA tournament's release. Syracuse will host Albany next Sunday at 7:30 in the Carrier Dome. For Nick Dugan, I'm Chris Thomsen.